Are you ready? Don't go anywhere. Mr. Hush is about to take you on a spine-chilling journey with his captivating horror stories.
Hello everyone, I'm Hush. Today, I'm going to take you on a journey into a world of mystery and shadows, filled with unresolved mysteries and spine-chilling tales. I will share with you true experiences that will send shivers down your spine, each more gripping than the last. First, we'll delve into a haunted duplex, home to a family whose lives are disrupted by the eerie antics of a mysterious doll. This story is called The Haunted Duplex and the Mysterious Doll. Next, we'll venture into a seemingly peaceful greenbelt park that hides an unsettling encounter, enough to make the bravest of hearts tremble. This story is titled The Greenbelt Encounter. Then, we'll uncover the secrets behind an ancient doll on a wire board that seemed to have awakened a malicious force, threatening the peace of the household. This narrative is known as the malevolent doll on the spirit board. Finally, we'll head to the Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans, where the elevators may not only move up and down but also transport you across the boundaries of reality and the supernatural. This tale is called the Roosevelt Hotel Elevator Mystery. Please follow my voice as we uncover the truths behind these stories. Remember, sometimes the scariest things hide in the most ordinary of routines. Now let's begin our journey.
Story 1.
I grew up in an extremely haunted duplex, and I could even write a whole book about all the strange things that happened there. So what I'm about to share is just the tip of the iceberg. I was only around 6 or 7 years old when we used to live there, so I don't remember everything clearly, but the memories I do have are vivid and unsettling. My family stayed in the duplex for 2 years, but it felt like forever because of all the creepy things that kept happening. I remember hearing strange noises at night, like footsteps when no one was there, and seeing shadows moving on the walls. But because I remember so little, I often wonder if something happened with the doll that I forgot about. I know many people have family members who give newborn babies a porcelain doll as a gift. I was born in 1995, and I'm not sure if people still do this or if it was just a Greek tradition. Anyway, I had a porcelain doll with a light blue dress, white frills, curly blonde hair, and it was attached to a swing. But the porcelain doll stayed in its box until I was about 10 years old. At the time, I loved the TV show The Big Comfy Couch and had a Molly doll from the show. She also came with little cardboard pieces you could use as a bow or a thought bubble. I don't remember playing with her much, but my mom said I always had her with me. She definitely looked well, loved, but I don't really remember. Anyway, sorry for going on so long. A few years later, after moving into my new home, I was digging through my toy box and found my Molly doll. I suddenly felt a connection to Molly, so I kept her in the corner of my bed, between the wall and the bed frame. She stayed there for a few months until I started having nightmares. You know, the kind of weird dreams where you're in someone's house, but it doesn't look the way it actually does. In my dream, my cousin's bedroom was in the same place as my uncle's bedroom. I would walk into what was supposed to be my cousin's room, and I'd see Molly sitting against my cousin's pillows. The room was decorated in pink and purple, very girly, with soft light from the setting sun coming through the windows. But as soon as I stepped in, my eyes were immediately drawn to Molly. There was something about the way she was sitting there that made me feel really uneasy and on edge, like something was just not right. A terrible, sick feeling hit me, my anxiety spiked, and I couldn't take my eyes off Molly. Suddenly, she slowly started to stand up. She was still facing away from me, looking to the right. Then she began to float up and turn toward me. The room went dark, and I ran to the light switch, but I couldn't find it. When I finally did, it wouldn't work. I grabbed the door, but I could feel her right behind me. I threw open the door and ran down my uncle's hallway. When I look back, I see Molly floating behind me. At the end of the hallway is my grandma, who is still alive, by the way. I run to her, My eyes are red, and she's just staring straight ahead. I'm screaming at her to do something. Then I would suddenly wake up. Remember, Molly was on my bed when all this started. Now I had that same dream a few more times. Each time, something's changed, but it was always the same overall. I got so fed up with these dreams that I decided to do something different. So I put Molly in a pillowcase and hid her under my bed. Even though I still didn't feel safe, I moved her to the crawl space. Nearly 10 years later, when my family was moving, my mom found her in the crawl space. I ended up giving her away, and I found out that Molly dolls can be quite valuable now. The duplex I lived in had a demonic presence. It used to come to me, pretending to be my childhood toy. I don't know if this demonic presence tortured me with toys or dolls. Now with the porcelain doll, I used to hang her on my wall in her swing, but I would stare at her all night, expecting her to turn her head, float, or crawl toward me. It was like something from a horror movie. I got rid of her because I just can't stand dolls, even though I know it was a baby gift, and it might seem rude.
Story 2.
I have 3 dogs with my girlfriend, but she recently got hurt in a horse riding accident, so I'm handling everything on my own for now. Once I was done preparing dinner, I remembered that our dogs needed their walk. If I didn't take them out soon, they would get restless and start causing trouble, turning my quiet evening into chaos. I only had 2 hours of free time, and I didn't want to spend it cleaning up after them or dealing with their antics. My girlfriend and I usually take the dogs out for walks together, but since she's been feeling unwell lately, I decided to go alone this time. It was around 7:30 p.m. and the sun was starting to set. We attend UC Davis, which is known for being a very safe school. The city is mostly filled with students and professionals, so it's common to see people jogging or walking their dogs in the parks even at night. And it's normal to see a young woman jogging alone in the evening, as everyone feels safe here. Right next to my girlfriend's house is a park, which is part of a series of parks that are all connected in the northern part of town. These parks are called the Greenbelt, and they're popular for lots of activities like cycling, jogging, older people doing tai chi, and dog walking. People also come here to have picnics or just relax on the grass. The Greenbelt is pretty long, so we usually walk for a few minutes and then let the dogs run around off leash in a safe area, even though it's against the rules. Hardly anyone follows them, so I let my dogs enjoy themselves as I want to make sure they're good and tired before we head home. While they're running around in the dark with their light-up collars, I munch on a banana and listen to some Michael Bublé on my headphones. Then, once the dogs have had their fun, I put their leashes back on and start heading home. As I'm walking on the sidewalk, I see someone coming toward me, lit up by one of the few streetlights along the Greenbelt. He's very tall and thin, with a shape that reminds me of the alien from the movie Signs. What really caught my attention was how slowly he was walking, much slower than a normal pace. It was like he was on one of those moving walkways at an airport, gliding forward with no effort at all. What made it even more unsettling was that he was holding something in his arms, but I couldn't see what it was. I kept walking forward, dragging my clueless dogs along, who were probably getting pretty anxious now. It's kind of ironic because just yesterday I was telling my girlfriend, who often complains that our little white poodle barks at random things. So I said that one day Penny might bark at something important, like a real danger. And as I watched this weird man move so slowly ahead of me, I couldn't help but think that maybe Penny's barking might have actually been useful today. As the guy got closer, and I could see him clearly, I noticed he was holding a baby against his chest. But he wasn't really cradling it, he was just holding his arms in a basic cradling position, like the fake rocking motion you do when you sing "Rock Up My Baby." While this was happening, he wasn't looking down at the baby. Instead, he was staring at me with this intense, blank expression. As he walked past, I took a quick look at the baby he was holding. It wasn't moving at all, it just lay there, completely still. Then, to my horror, I realized it was a baby doll, or at least I hoped it was. The thought of it being a real baby made me feel extremely disturbed, as it would mean I just witnessed something really disturbing and wrong. Before I could fully figure out that it was a plastic baby, I tried to break his intense stare by asking, Hey, are you okay?" But he just kept staring at me and even turned his head to keep looking as he walked by. The worst part was his face, which looked completely blank, like a wall. I've never seen anyone show less emotion than this guy. He was wearing glasses and was partly balding, but the most striking thing about him was his Michael Myers-like stare. It was unsettling. I kept walking, and it took me a few seconds to process what I had just seen. When I turned around, things got even creepier. Under the streetlight, the man had stopped walking. He slowly turned his head around and started staring at me again with that blank look. At this point, I'm really freaked out and start walking faster. After a few seconds of power walking, I turn around again and see that not only has he turned his head, but now his whole body is facing me, still holding the plastic baby doll. I pull out my phone and call my girlfriend to show I'm talking to someone, and then I turn back around and keep walking. I just tell her, "Hey, stay on the phone with me." "Okay," and put the phone on speaker. She quickly understands something is wrong and starts talking to me about random things to keep it normal. We keep chatting like this while I keep turning around to see the tall, skinny, balding man with the plastic baby doll still staring at me in the dark, in the middle of the park with no one else around. I kept turning back to see him. Finally, after the 5th or 6th time looking, I saw him slowly turn around and start walking in the opposite direction. I know I might seem like a big baby right now. After all, he didn't actually do anything to me, but you should have seen his face so blank and creepy. It felt really unsettling. Anyway, it's late now, so I'm going to lock all the windows and try to sleep while holding my dog for protection. I'm really sorry if I've ever treated other people's scary stories like they were just entertainment. But the truth is, this stuff is real and very scary. It would be better if things like this didn't happen at all.
Story 3.
I have a doll that I now believe is the reason for all the strange things happening in our house. We moved here almost 2 years ago, and at first, everything seemed normal. But one day when I was home alone, I heard strange noises and thought there was an intruder. I was so scared that I called 911, but when the police arrived, they found nothing. I felt embarrassed, thinking I was just being paranoid because of the new house. However, things got even stranger after that. I started hearing knocking and tapping sounds at night, even when no one else was home. Sometimes the noises seemed to come from inside the walls, and other times from the ceiling or floors. Then I started noticing weird things happening in my bedroom, like my birds suddenly becoming restless and chirping loudly for no reason. The doll I have is kept in a box in the corner of my closet, which is where I noticed the most unusual activity. Now I also have a spirit board in my room, but it doesn't have a blanket tee, it's just for decoration. I feel it's important to mention these details as I think they might be connected to what's going on. The strange events weren't too aggressive, like the lights would flicker on and off by themselves, or the doll would turn off the lights completely. My electronics would start acting up, like the TV changing channels or the radio turning on by itself. I thought it could be due to old wiring since the house is pretty old. Last year around Christmas, I got a brand new phone. I was on a call with my friend, and we were laughing and having fun. We didn't hear any strange noises. Then, suddenly, my phone's screen went completely black, and I could only hear my friend's voice. At the same time, the blanket I had over me was suddenly pulled off. Recently, the same strange things have been happening, but now there are months between each incident. But after what happened this morning, I'm sitting here typing this, shaking like a leaf. This morning, I had the pillow on my shoulder when I felt a sudden heavy pressure on it, almost as if something was pushing down. I thought it was just my dog lying next to me, so I tried to ignore it, thinking he would move away soon. But the pressure stayed, and it felt too strong to be my dog. That's when I realized something wasn't right. It wasn't my dog at all, he wasn't even in him. What I find strange is that when I woke up scared, it was just after 3:30 a.m. I have my own beliefs and don't strongly follow any religion. I do have a tattoo of an upside-down cross with the moon, and I wear an ink necklace. I've decided to burn the spirit board and the doll as I want them gone, even though the doll was a family heirloom and was passed down to me. This is just a brief overview of what's been happening. There's more to it than I've shared. The doll seems to be at the center of the problems, especially in the corner where I hear growling sounds. I believe that once I get rid of the doll, things might settle down. I've also had pet birds that suddenly got sick and didn't make it, and I used to think these were just bad luck or coincidences. But now, I'm starting to think there might be a connection. I also reached out to a paranormal investigator with over 40 years of experience, and she's interested in looking into the doll since it was passed down through my family. I feel a strong connection to it, which makes it hard for me to think about getting rid of it.
Story 4.
In 2009, I went to New Orleans with one of my closest friends to work on a project. We were hired to install new data wiring at the Roosevelt Hotel on Canal Street because Hurricane Katrina had caused a lot of damage to the area, and the hotel needed repairs. The first few days, we worked during the day, but we soon decided to switch to working nights. We thought it would be quieter and easier to get things done at night. The hotel was mostly empty, so we were usually the only ones there, except for an old security guard who was a retired New Orleans police officer. The place felt a bit creepy at night, but I never saw anything strange, just a stray cat or heard a loud noise far away. It was a Saturday evening, and that night, we had a few work to do, so we decided to run a fiber line from the top floor to the basement to finish our shift. It was now early Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, around 3:30 a.m. The entire hotel was under renovation, so most things were out of order, including the elevators. The only one that worked was the old service elevator, and it was a real hassle to use. You couldn't just press a button to call it to your floor. Instead, one person had to be inside the elevator, holding the button to make it go up or down, while another person had to hold the door shut to keep it moving. That night, we had a big job ahead of us. We lugged all our tools and supplies up to the top floor, which took a lot of time and effort. Once we finally got everything up there, we started setting up to pull the fiber line all the way from the top floor down to the basement. Each floor has a telephone room located in the service area, which is near the elevator. There's a paper with the floor number on it because every service area looks exactly the same on each floor. These rooms are stacked directly on top of each other from one floor to the next, and pipes run through the floors, allowing wiring to pass through to each room. Each floor of the hotel has its own unique style. It's nothing crazy, like a jungle or space theme, but the carpets and hallway lights are different on each floor. We started pulling the fiber line floor by floor. I don't remember exactly how tall the building was, but let's say it was around 25 floors. We all got into the elevator to go down after going down a few floors, maybe to the 22nd. Our boss told us to take the elevator down to the 12th. He wanted us to ride it back up to grab the rest of our equipment, and he said he would meet us there. My buddy and I got into the old creaky elevator and went down to the 12th floor. When we got off, I clearly remember seeing the number 12 on the piece of paper by the elevator. We walked over to the telephone room and saw the fiber line we were pulling already running through the floor down to the 11th. We finished our work and started walking back to the service elevator to go down to the basement. But when we got there, the elevator wasn't there. We were instantly filled with panic, shock, and confusion. I looked at the wall and saw the number 22. How is this possible? My buddy and I were in a panic. We rushed to the stairs and ran down 10 flights in seconds. When we reached the stairwell door, there it was, the elevator on the 12th floor, its doors open with its dim orange light glowing. We looked at each other, terrified, and started yelling for our boss. Then we continued running down the stairs towards the first floor. I've never run so fast in my life. That was the last night I worked in that hotel. I still don't know what happened, and when I tell other people this story, they just laugh. I even call my buddy sometimes to make sure we both remember it the same way. There's something strange going on in the Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans, and I always wonder if I'm in the right dimension.